amazing. Talk about facing your fears and crushing them. I never get tired.
Hello, everyone. If you are joining us here today, it means that you have heard about the new platform of the Conscious Leader. Once upon a time, we were Self Mastery, and this was Self Mastery Fridays. But in the evolution of time, or should I say, and in the evolution of time, we have grown into this new space in which now really everything about my identity and my flow has been made very clear to me. And with that clarity means a metamorphosis, right? It means a change in how I present myself, how I speak to you, how I actually identify me. And one of the key things that I've always heard throughout my time is me being a conscious leader and really flowing in that space. And so now I've changed the platform to conscious leadership. And I really wanted to go ahead and use this space to speak to you about consciousness in various levels. There are many ways in which one becomes awakened. And so today we have the beautiful Wei Li with us to speak about her space of consciousness. And before we get into any beautiful questions and details and insights, I would love for Wei Li to go ahead and give us a little introduction about herself so that you get to know her better. Wei Li.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here, Patricia. Thank you so much.
My
I guess I would start with my name first because often people will ask me, and my name actually has meanings in Chinese.
pleasure.
Wei means grand, and Li means beautiful. And Wei is usually reserved only for boys. So
Wow.
for this name, I only got it back last year on my birthday. I've used the Doris for 27 years while I was living in America. So only last year, when I was turning 49, I thought, well, it's almost like that you were talking about the conscious. It's just that there's a calling for me to go back to where I came from. So that's my birth name. So with that, yes, I was born in China and then lived in Western world here for 28 years. And now I am a soul, a soul actually on the spiritual journey. I think
Mm-hmm.
with you, as a sister. Um, I have done, there's a lot of, I guess, activities I've done in the past. Um, Identity wise, I'm an entrepreneur. I have built my own business for 18 years. I had actually a mental health center in here in Central Florida. We
Mm-hmm.
were serving lots of clients with special needs. I have an autism center in Dubai, and recently, during the pandemic time, there's a movement that I started. It's called Asina Sisterhood. So
Yeah.
that's exactly like you were describing about how you have evolved. That's how I have evolved, I feel.
Mm.
Ever since about 5 years ago, I would say, really I dived really deep into study femininity, sexuality, feminine leadership. So that was my work. It's called out of me. I feel yeah, right now at this moment, it's everything is about bring the sisters together from all over the world and help feminine leadership to rise and hold space and encouraging each other, empowerment, healing. A lot of healing happens in the sisterhood. That's what I'm doing. I'm more like a space creator.
Indeed. And you do it so beautifully. So I want to speak to the Athena sisterhood because this is where Whaley and I became true sister friends. And in that space, what Whaley has created there, number one, for any woman out there, any female out there, whether you be a teenager, a young adult, a full adult, a senior, wherever you are within this life journey, and you are truly looking for connection and you are looking for a place to gain a little guidance, maybe some clarity as to where you are, some support, or really just a space to share your voice. Sometimes it's maybe you're just looking for a space to witness another voice. Athena Sisterhood is a beautiful space for you. Beautiful space. I found a little sanctuary there for me, and I know that there's a little sanctuary there for you. So I just really wanted to say that because I remember when I first stepped into Athena Sisterhood and I was really just kind of like, what's going on? What's in this space? What's happening here? What is this dialogue? And then when I had my first session and it was the river cleanse, mind blown.
Yeah. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
That's the sacred space that we hold for each other. The river cleanse is really one sister hold the space for the other so then she can purge out all these stuck energies within her so she can really be the flow of life. And I do this every morning, Monday through Friday,
I do
7:30. Yes, you do too, right?
so happily.
Right, right. That just, I think that's the secret sauce of me, like start my morning right. I know some sisters do it at night, some sisters do it throughout the day, but for me, like I do this for 15, 20 minutes in the morning. And my husband's always happy. Like, this, okay, you did your rubber cleanse. Like, yes, right? It's completely like a mental health cleansing. We always go through the day, there's certain things through at us, right? There's just triggers. I know that even though I feel like I'm, especially for the last year or so, I would say started from probably April 2019, really like conscious about my triggers, whatever that's coming up, like release it and let it go. And that's my awareness is, but still it comes. It does come, but with the sister's support, it just goes out so much faster.
So much faster.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you feel like being held, like so loved, like that love, non-judgmental, and no coaching either, right? Like none of that. Just the space holding.
Yes, it's a beautiful space to release. Some identify it as purging, right? Because it depends on what it is that you have within that you're trying to just, like get rid of. But it's a beautiful space of release. And that's what I appreciate about it. That it's not just a release of negative, it's a release of positive as well. Like you have moments of nothing but gratitude
Yeah.
and you're just letting that out.
That's so true. It's getting clarity as well, right? Like for example, I'm writing my memoir. Like this is I feel being called to do that.
Mhm.
Getting clarity of what to write. That's a river cleanse topic for me for a long time. And the more I do the river cleanse, the more clarity it comes. So, like you said, it doesn't have to be negative. It could be totally something magnificent. You're just growing because there's a sacred space there, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So very beautiful. And just the fact that you're able to awaken to yourself, awaken to your own acknowledgments, your own world, your family, your connections, all of that happens within that space of release. So thank you so very much for bringing that into my world. I appreciate you.
It's an honor. I appreciate you, Patricia. Mm.
So I want to get a little bit into your journey of consciousness into success and in success because I feel like as leaders, many of us are used to that space of success, right? We're very driven, we're goal oriented, and getting into the space of, okay, this is some place that I need to get to. I'm going to work to get there and I'm going to do everything that I can. But being present minded isn't always there because you're so bent on the future and the outcome and what you're aiming for that you kind of miss the moments. So, can you speak to your journey of being conscious in success?
Sure. Yes. So I'll just give you a little bit story what happened in 2013 for me. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
So both of us are platinum sisters, so you can relate to what I'm going to share. So I went to India that time, through Tony, the spiritual journey started
Tony
with
Robbins, everyone.
Tony Robbins. Yes, right. One of our amazing mentors. So I came back from India, and then right after that, there was a platinum trips. And then I remember Sage, his wife, was there, and I was talking to her. I was like, I so want to learn more about meditating, like eye meditation, because she was doing a date with Destiny. She was using the eye meditation with Tony, and then you receive, right? As a receiver, I felt the first experience with her. So I said, I want to learn that. I went to India, I want to learn more. And she she put her hand on Samuel, my husband, almost 30 years of marriage now, my king. She put her hand on his shoulder and she said to me, she said, this is your meditation. Serving this man is your meditation.
Hmm.
That moment, I was like, wow, what does that exactly mean? Like to me, right? Then she went on, she said, when I chop vegetables, that's my meditation. I'm just chopping vegetables. So I feel that was like when we were looking for distinctions, sometimes it just comes out of nowhere. Like those are the moments like, wow, that was big for me. Just like you said before that, everything's about achieving. Even with meditation, I want to achieve. People wants to become a master trainer in eye meditation. I want to cut it to half of the speed. Yeah, because I was like, I have all these children with autism, right? All these families, all their parents. If I learn eye meditation, I can help so many just by using that. It was all about like conquer. And yeah, that was about 7 years ago. So if you ask me now, I think starting to understand what does that mean. Chopping vegetables is a meditation. Like
Mm.
serving my man, however the way that he like to be served is a meditation. Like just in that moment, the connection. Like right now, right? Like I'm looking at your beautiful, beautiful face, your long hair, your shining eyes, your smile, your necklace. I mean, everything. To me, this is a present moment of connection. And I will forever remember this moment. That is meditation to me. So
I love this.
yeah.
I think the key thing, I just want to quickly highlight what you said, the moment of connection. It's a small thing that you said, but it's a huge impact because that distinction is one of the key elements that we miss in being present.
Mm. Yes. Yeah.
Taking the moment of connection and sitting in that, right? Like we're so busy going, oh, but I'm looking for
Mhm.
that when those moments happen, that's that space of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's that space of a true fusion of energy, right? And making a connection from one to the other, which can bring about an elevation and really an outcome and end result that's beyond your goal
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you're present.
Yeah. Like I'm a mom. I have two kids. So I have an 11-year-old son, and his name is Norton. So when I get in the present moment with him, it's the morning hug time. He will come. I mean, he's only like here to my chest height. So when I hug him, he look up, like he really look up, and then he close his eyes, and he look up again, and he close his eyes. He was looking for presence, right? He when he closed his eyes, when he opened his eyes, I'm still looking at him. I'm still looking at him. I'm still looking at him. Those moments to him probably means really long, but in reality, it probably like a minute or two. Then
Mm.
he's all done. Like his day is filled up by mama's love. Like just that. And then when he's like, okay, I'm good, I'm gone. Like that. That's the present moment. Yeah.
Mm.
Like
I
that.
love that. I really, really love that because I think a lot of people tend to get a little confused about meditation, right? Many people, especially in looking at it as to a practice. So I love the fact that you started there in regards to consciousness and success because people tend to look at it, okay, here's a practice in which I need to get silent. I need to get quiet. I need to muddle out all the noise. I need to really just completely be quiet and find that space within me so that I can hear the very silent voice. What I love about what you're presenting is really the fact of being conscious, paying attention to those moments of connection is that daily practice of meditation.
Absolutely. I'll give you another example because those are just like moments come to me in a huge way I would like to share. I have been like wanting to work on my relationship with my parents, right? Something happened to me during childhood time. We all had some type of trauma. So
Yeah.
that was at the very beginning of my motivation, want to go deeper in healing.
Mm.
So this one day is in One World Academy in Chennai, India. And morning time, we were just asked to go and do a nature walk. So there's stones and it's really by the beach. You can just hear the ocean sound. It's a very sacred but very serene place. So we were just asked by the monk, observe every step, like just to feel your toe and then feel your heel and feel the movement of your step, like touching the ground. That's all you do. That is the meditation, like feel that every step. So as I was doing it, for sure, there's no thoughts because your focus was on that. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden, I don't know how long was I doing it. I have no idea. I was just doing that. All of a sudden, like a butterfly landed on my left hand, on the back of my hand. A butterfly came. So I just moved my hand up. So like, wow, it's amazing. Like that was just the present moment. Just that moment, the thought came like, I am going to make my parents the next 10 years the best ever they lived on this earth the next 10 years. They were at that time 70 years old, right? So I was trying to find forgiveness, all that, but there's because of the present moment, something just happened, boom, like thoughts just come
Mm.
and start from just like you said, it's way beyond your goal.
Mhm.
It wasn't a goal or anything. It just came. It's
Mhm.
almost like in that pure moment, the butterfly showed up and boom, there you go. Like
Mhm.
transform your relation. Of course, it's my mind later say, oh, this means that or this, but no, there's no thoughts. It came. So
Mhm.
I flew from India to China. We only had a dinner time. Literally, it's about 3 hours before I get on the plane and fly back to United States. So I talked to my mom about this experience, and just from that moment on, everything changed. Everything.
Mhm.
My relationship with my parents completely changed. It wasn't hard work. It really wasn't hard work. It was awareness.
Mhm.
It was almost like I went into a different frequency. While
Mm.
I was doing the meditation, I got in a frequency that I wasn't in when I was using my brain trying to figure out how to repair this relationship. Once, I do believe that everything around, everything's there. It's like, how do we grab it? In what frequency are we able to tap into it? If you're in such a pure high frequency, then there you go. You have access to that healing. Whatever that message comes, that's what you need.
Mm. I love, love, love this because what you're highlighting is being in that state of consciousness. It ultimately, you had a goal in mind, you had an outcome, and your outcome in the end was a very small percentage to the real outcome of what needed to be experienced and what needed to be pretty much awakened, right? So, in the end, what happened is by you being conscious to that moment, the result that you landed in was exponential. It was beyond anyone's dream of what the expectation would be. Never mind an expectation, but the dream of an expectation. That's the beauty of taking the moments to be conscious of the connections and learning from them.
Yeah. And that was 7 years ago. So I can honestly say for the last 7 years, it has been their best time in their entire life. So
Mhm. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Mm.
So beautiful. I love that. I love that. So when it came to even being able to truly be in that moment, to be conscious in a space like that, um, what were some of the things that came into your knowing for you to come to a knowing of yourself, of having some of those distinctions, to be aware of some of those distinctions?
If you could elaborate just a little bit more, please.
So, like the fact that you were able to really just be present to the
Mm.
butterfly,
Yes.
right? Like a lot of people will see a butterfly and they're going, "Okay." You know, some might take this conversation and go, "Okay, I see a dragonfly. Let me hone in on this dragonfly," right? Like that isn't what we're talking about. It's not trying to squeeze out of the moment the truth. It's about being aware of the moment and allowing the truth to be revealed to you. So I just wanted to kind of walk through that for you as to maybe the first time that happened to you, or when you started to really learn how to utilize the elements of that process, maybe?
It comes more and more frequently now, right? Initially, I think my first experience was that was about 2012. So the most recent one, it was fascinating. It was I live on a lake. So while I was doing the last one, for example, just only a few days ago, I was doing my river cleanse. Then I start to tell Sally, could I just describe what I'm seeing now? Right? And she
Mm.
said, yes. So it's almost like your senses just getting so much heightened. I've lived on this lake since 2004. So I've been on this lake for the last 16 years. It's the same sun, it's the same buildings, it's the same dog, everything's the same. I've never ever experienced the sun coming this way to me that I'm actually looking at the little bird, teeny tiny bird on this like little shrubbery. I don't know how did my eyesight or my senses become so sharp. Like I spotted this such a little thing, probably about 20, 30 feet away from me. And then just the bird was flying and the breeze, those moments to me so alive. I don't know how to describe it other than my senses have just heightened so much. There's people talking about oneness. I was like, this is a moment that I really feel like, wow, everything is so beautiful. I'm sure days like that happened many, many, many days in the last 16 years. But for me, it was the first time. Like, I just want to describe it to you, sister. Please hold space for me because I just want to describe it to you. Yeah, so that was a moment like that. It wasn't like, oh, another aha moment like happened like with my parents, right? There's nothing after that, but it's just that moment. It was the richness of life. It's like
Mm.
I feel how rich the nature is, how powerful the sun is, how smooth my skin is. It's like, oh, how lucky I am to be truly alive. I was telling the sisters afterwards, I said, well, everybody was saying about, we have this practice about saying gratitude in the circles. Everyone was appreciating and saying their gratitude. I said it was, I am so grateful to be alive. If I die now, today, at this moment, my life has been an amazing journey. I'm
Mm.
super happy. Even so, if you ask my goals, yes, there have other things I want to do, right? But at that moment, it was like, oh, there's absolutely nothing that I need. Absolutely nothing. I have experienced everything I'm meant to do and experience here, just that moment.
Uh,
Yeah.
I Love it. Like there were a couple of times there where I felt like I was going to cry in your descriptions because of the fact that so for all the viewers, I'm actually just coming back from a Tony Robbins platinum membership spiritual trip. And it was over in Arizona, Scottsdale. And I had this moment. So I have to describe to you this moment that I had.
Yeah.
I joined the Tony Robbins Platinum Partners in December of 2019. It was the first time that I attended a Tony event, so I'm not, someone who's followed him for years and all of that. I just attended Date with Destiny. I was so impressed by that program and the intensity of it. It was right up my alley because I've been working on my self mastery myself for a good decade, solid. So for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, tribe, tribe, tribe. And in signing up, one of the key reasons why I signed up, there's this meditation that happens during Date with Destiny. There are a few of them, but this one in particular stands out to me, and I'll tell you why. It's the one in which Tony walks through you going into that you are a bird. And
Yeah.
he doesn't tell you what kind of bird. He just tells you you're a bird. He wants you to envision yourself as a bird, and and then you start to take flight. Like you're on a mountain, and then you start to take flight. So when he's giving this vision or this walkthrough of this meditation, the very first bird that I see myself as is a hummingbird,
Oh, yes.
a total hummingbird zipping by so quickly I could barely see that I was a hummingbird, right? Like I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, that's a hummingbird." Like it's going by so fast. It's so tiny though. Like I can. So I'm having all of these questions and comments, right? And then I stopped myself cuz I'm like, "Be in the moment." Like knock it off, Patricia, right? Like be in the moment. So each time I found myself wandering, I would say, okay. And then as soon as I would say, okay, I would be back into the flow of the meditation. I go from being this hummingbird to then being an eagle with these beautiful wings, like wide girth, gorgeous. Um, Going out and flying out into the sky, then this eagle like morphs into a phoenix. And now I'm like this fiery phoenix, flying around. So three different birds is what ends up happening in this vision for me, right? We are riding around on the campus of the resort. I am in a golf cart and I am speaking to the driver about the facility. I was just asking him about it, like how old it is. Since we were riding together, I was talking to him. And a hummingbird
Mm.
comes out from the bushes midair and just stays there, zipping, like stays there. And I'm looking at this bird like, oh my gosh, are you really present? To the point that I pointed him out to the driver, like, there's a hummingbird. Like, I can't believe, like, there's no flowers anywhere. He's just here. But look at him. He's steady, staying, not moving. And then as soon as I finished fully acknowledging him, boom, he was gone.
Mm.
And this conversation reminds me of that because Date with Destiny was the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of me coming into a conscious state of myself in a
Mhm.
way that I have never done before. And that hummingbird presented itself to remind me of that moment, to remind me that I was zipping into flight and steady state. Here we are. Steady state. I mean, he was like, I am here. I am not moving. Yes, this is me. It
Well,
was such a beautiful moment.
the universe gives us signs. It's up to us to receive it or not.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a clear sign that you were ready to receive and you saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful, sister. Oh,
Yeah. It was really such a
like
beautiful moment.
Beautiful.
And there were just so many beautiful spaces like all throughout the weekend. And I bring that up to really just continue to highlight what you're bringing forth in the
Mm,
fact that consciousness, it's not something in which you ultimately have to study or work through or really just try to define for yourself. It's the moments of connection. It is a simple awakening element where you go from zombie mode of day-to-day movement and routine to wait, that's not normal.
And there's something more to life than this, right? So when I first read Eckhart Tolle's um, The Power of Now,
Mm,
that was an opening to me. I do feel like, wow, this way of living, it really takes practice. That present moment practice, right?
yeah.
Now, as I journeyed along a little bit further on my um, in my day to day, I find myself in and out of that. Like it still takes conscious effort to know that, oh, like I'm already in the old programming. Like in
Yes.
the way that I'm treating, for example, Northern now, it's the old programming. So
Mm,
I think by me more aware of that, it's almost like I actually been following Michael Singer's surrender experiment for a
mm.
while. Yeah,
No.
yeah, he's one of a spiritual teacher. He lives in Florida. He's been practicing for I don't know 40, 50, like really many years. Um, he describes that it's almost like you sit in the back of your seat and just watch and just in the like in the back like pull yourself back and just watch your mind chatter
Mm,
as an observer, and your mind really chats like really there's craziness chatting going on there. I
mhm,
remember I was doing some like really I'm like okay, let me just write down what is there. So I was doing the journaling. It really is crazy. I did one kind of like a swamping procedure in the sisterhood, but also it's mind chatter with Michael Singer's combination. I wrote down about Samuel, my husband.
mm,
You know, one day we had some kind of disagreement. I got really mad,
mhm,
and I was obviously in an unconscious state, in that just like really mad. So I started to write what my mind was saying, and it was pages long. I wrote about 20 minutes, all about how bad this man was, right? So after I kind of like cleanse it out, we call this a swamping procedure in the sisterhood. Swamp the emotion out. It's not good or bad. It's just dark emotion. I was
yeah.
angry. I was agitated. Okay, so close the book. Good, right? Like now I'm aware, but I opened my journal a few years later just because I was writing my memoir now. This was years ago.
Mm.
I was reading, I was like, this is a crazy woman. I mean, her mind chatter, like back and forth, back and forth. No, he's really good. Like he's no, he is not. Like it's almost like two personalities just there. But
Yeah.
I was in that moment of a recording what's happening in my mind. Imagine what's going on in our mind all the time, and
Mm,
imagine how much energy that actually is being consumed if
mhm.
we're doing that. That's why people sometimes will say, well, wait, like you manifest things, like things just come to you. It's like you want this truly. I think for Asina sisterhood, it's almost like that. When I'm just saying about desire, you speak the desire out, oops, something just happens, like right there. It's because I really feel that the more I'm practicing the conscious awareness, the more I can quickly catch myself going to my chatter. I'm like,
Mm,
okay, pulling myself back, do the observation, and use all the tools that I need to be in the present moment. That's the key, absolute key. And
mm,
once you're in the present moment, whatever needs to come will come. Then you're not wasting all your energies consumed to trying to fight something off. Right? That's I don't know. I'll give you another example. It's
please.
okay. This is from my daughter. She was just sharing with me one of her examples, and I said that happened to me also. Like many years I've been a pleaser. I want people to like me.
Mm.
Even if I'm very tired, exhausted, but if there's only two people, say for example, that I just feel they need me, I will still be there for them. But at the meantime, I don't want to be there because I'm already tired, right? Like I'm giving to the point I have nothing to give.
Mm-hmm.
But then the chatter will start back and forth. That's what happened to her. She was a speaker. She was invited. She did a great speech. But then all the organizers like, it would be great if you guys can stay and support the next speakers. And there's no other people staying. Like she just feels she needs to obligate. She stayed for the entire day. By the end of the day, she was totally having a split, like really headache. So
Mm.
we just went into talking about the moment awareness. Was she aware of herself, her state? Was she in a beautiful state at that moment? Or was she in a suffering state?
Mm.
Right? This is also something we talked about in the sisterhood about BSS is beautiful state sisters. Is for you to be like nothing at this time in my life, nothing worse my beautiful state. I protect my beautiful state
Mm.
at all cost, like really that I guard that door so tightly. If anybody come into my space
That's
with
beautiful.
the intent to take away, no, the door will not be open to them. Just that is my kingdom, right? Like that's my beautiful state kingdom.
Yeah.
We were just discussing about awareness. See, awareness is the first step. If she wasn't aware, she was only aware about should I stay or should I not stay, then could I actually have stay, still do my AP class and like like pretend I'm giving them present, but actually I'm not. But I
Mm.
couldn't really do this because I can't. It's just too much work. Then I end up doing something halfway. All that was I aware. So awareness is step one for all the present moment. If we're really aware, and then I really believe if you are aware, like, oh my God, I'm doing all this mind chattering, then next thing will just come. Take a deep breath, go to your breath. Like, really, take a deep breath, just go to your breath. That's simple, going to bring you right back to your present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, next moment, you're going to pull it out of again and use the same thing. Go back, and go back more.
But I love how the breath is step two.
Breath, yeah, breath. Breath is breath is really everything in this human form.
Mm-hmm. People don't realize how cleansing the human breath is. And I don't think we all realize just how very little we actually breathe throughout the day.
Yeah.
We're so busy breathing in fast, syncopated ways, right? Like we're on that constant movement. It's almost like we breathe like think of how you breathe when you're jogging
Mm-hmm.
or when you're running. This is how we tend to breathe when we are active. We are
Yeah.
breathing in like these short sprints, short sprints, short sprints, short sprints. And then we're going, I don't understand why I'm so confused and agitated and my mind is like muffled. This is why everyone tells you to stop and take a breath because you're not really breathing. You are just surviving. And everything about the way in which you are taking in oxygen is in survival mode and not in wealth and richness mode. So when you actually take that pause to go ahead and breathe, not from your chest, which does the cheap, short, syncopated breaths, but you actually take a breath from your diaphragm, right? It's that space in which your belly, when you breathe in, your belly extends out. And when you breathe out, your belly comes back in. That diaphragm breath, that deepness, is what causes that richness in you. And your brain just goes
Expansion.
just like that. It's like this beautiful soft cloud explosion that happens. And you allow the beauty of the breath to go ahead and cleanse you from the inside out. Next thing you know, all things come together: physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, all of it aligns in just the simplicity of the breath. I love that you brought that up.
What a gift,
Forget
right?
that.
What a
Mm-hmm.
gift that we are given.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we forget it. We forget it too often. Because if you simply move, and I love the fact that you're giving the tool of even taking that moment, right? And being able to see through the cloud of your mind in that moment is the fact that you become aware is sufficient,
Mhm.
right? Like that's sufficient. Everyone's going, oh, but what are the 10 steps? What's the challenge? Blah blah blah. The challenge is you. You are the challenge.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, being in this human form is a challenge itself,
Mhm,
right? I
mhm.
believe like, we are largely we are spiritual, but we still have this human form. That itself is going to take us out of that consciousness. So it's that itself.
Yeah.
It is. We are the challenge.
Yes.
We are here to evolve.
Yes. And for the ladies out there who are looking to move forward in their feminine power and to really step into many of these business spaces, whether you be an entrepreneur or you are finding yourself within the corporate arena and you've been living in a space of separation between who you are and your feminine power and identity. I would love for you to speak a little bit into that. I mean, pretty much you have been all along the way, but specifically.
But just imagine me, right? Like before 2012, I'm usually in suits, not only suit skirt, but suit pants. Like we can show our legs, kind of like I want to be strong and solid, right? And my color initially started all like gray and brown because when I started my business, I was 27 years old. So I want to have some gray hair like these men who I go into the boardroom or go into a conference room. These are men from the hospitals, right? Usually that's white man, gray haired, lots of wisdom. That's how the stereotypical, right? That's how the society kind of like that. So me
Hypothetical,
hypothetically
hypothetical wisdom.
wisdom, right? In that age, I'm like, oh man, who's going to take me seriously? So because I had that just that I don't know where did I come from, but I'm sure a lot of sisters can relate
Yeah.
because you just feel like in that male dominant society, you have to be like them. You have
Yeah.
to behave like them. So that
Imagery, what we were told, how we were taught to present ourselves in a professional space,
yes,
all of that.
hair cannot be too long, right? And shoulder long is good. Anything over that is not professional. Like
Go back.
yeah, all that, right? So then I just remember, oh my God, being like really keep space, like this whole feminine energy is really about compassion, right? About creativity, about flowy, about really, I mean, there's ever flow of emotions comes. You just masculine would cut it off. I would like before. I don't ever remember I cried. Like crying was not acceptable. My
Mm,
name was Boris then, right? Like it's just absolutely not acceptable. What do you mean that you will cry? Like this is just not acceptable.
mm,
So I think my journey really started it was destiny. One day Tony was talking about masculine and feminine energy. And
mm,
he asked the audience, there was about, I would say probably close to like 1,200 of us. How many of you ladies there that you feel your core is masculine? So I raised my hand, I stood up. I looked at Samuel and he was nodding his head. I'm like, okay, I have a confirmation from my husband. 20 years, so I am masculine in my core. So that tells you how little I was even aware of the concept. I just thought I was just strong like a man. Other people have commented, like I don't go into this little, girly stuff, and that's the man's version of me being like, yeah, you're kind of like us, straightforward and all that. And I was very proud. I
mm,
was proud of myself. But then little did I know, I'm such a feminine. I'm a goddess. Oh my God. She just has been sleeping like this entire time. And she's sexy. She's powerful. She's loving. She's radiant. She is, she's like the ocean. I
Mhm.
had no idea,
Ooh, I love that.
right? Just no idea. I remember at Date with Destiny, Tony had us going through this procedure. So you had four of you in a little group, then you hold each other accountable. You will speak to the group, the other three, about who are you, like, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
a I'm a channel of love, like all that, right? You have to speak over and over and over again. But the other three has to let you pass if they feel your passion, if they feel that that's who really you are.
Mm.
But they will not let me pass because I want to put love and strength together. It's just because what happened with me when I was a little girl, I can't let the word strength go. I feel like that's something I must hold on. If I let the strength go, oh my God, my world will just be gone without realizing love is actually more powerful
Mm.
anything. That's the right. That is the most powerful force in the entire universe. But that's to me a lot of feminine energy in the love, right? It's truly that. So I grabbed a hold of somebody who was walking by. I looked at his tag. He was a senior leader. His name is Peter Parker. I swear to God, the same as the Spider-Man. I
Yeah.
remember to this day. I'm like, that's your real name. I was crying all over. He's like, yes. I'm like, they just won't let me pass. I can't let strength go because I just need to be strong. And all he said that time, he was, whispering to my ear. Everything was so loud. It was music and everything. And he said, just remember water. Like how powerful is water, right? And then water would be able to really move the rocks. And he just started to say about water. And I grew up in China. I know how powerful was water. It's in our culture, it's in our literature. The poets and the writers write about water all the time. But me growing up never thought of me, myself as a woman, can live like water.
Mm.
So that is the wisdom. It's not a knowledge of water, but actually truly how do we live like water
Mm.
ourselves? How do we honor our body, a flow of the creek or the river or the ocean? That's feminine goddess energy.
Mm. It's beautiful because we are like 70% water in our actual physical makeup.
Yes.
And this I've always loved observing water. I have
Yeah.
always loved it because I've always felt like water always had something to tell me
Mm.
about something about me, about life, about humans that I needed to know. And so I would observe it from the child that I was a kid. Like I would go to Haiti in the summers to be with my dad, and I would spend the entire summer out there. And I remember when the heavy rains came in the summer, that it would be this flooding river that would come down the streets. That's what it looked like. It looked like a river coming down the road. And so all you would see is this river of mud just kind of flowing down. That's how thick the water was, right? Taking the dirt along with it. And I remember watching it and then going to play in it and then coming back out of it and then watching it. And then, like, the whole time I was just like mesmerized. Like, so you're soft when you're going over that house, you're rough when you're passing in front of this house. You take when you pass in the middle of this space, you flow when you're passing in that space, right? Like, it was just so mesmerizing to me as to how it flowed and why it made certain choices,
Mm.
why it would pass through in different ways. And Beautiful Chorus, which is this singing group, they are a cappella. Well, they actually now sing with music. Singing group. They do spiritual meditations through song, or they lead it. They have this song called um, "Waves We Give,"
Mm.
right? The song says, "Be like water, my friends. You can find your way around or through it. When everything in us stays rigid, we define the waves we give."
Mm. Oh.
That song speaks to me so deeply because of that childhood experience of watching the water, right? And watching how it moves and the choices that are being made and how it flows and what it's going to push through and what it's not, what it's going to pass over and what it's going to go around, what it's going to, make go with it. And I was watching that and I started to think about just how we are as humans, especially when it comes to relationships.
Mm. Yes.
The way that we are with each other,
Mm.
it's amazing to me. And this is like the perfect timing to have such conversations of relationships and water, because I wish I had a glass of water with me right now. Because when you take water as it is, if we are 70% water, let's just look at ourselves as being body as an ocean, right? Everybody is a little section in the ocean.
Mm.
When you take your hand and you go to grip water, how much water can you grab with a fist?
Right.
Right? Like, how
Yeah.
much is actually in your hand with this iron fist versus you taking a coupling?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is such a gentle position.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful, sister. Ooh, that's beautiful.
Such a gentle hold. It's not making any requests or requirements or movements. It is simply acknowledging a moment. It is taking in what it can grab and looking at what it can hold.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
Mm.
And then you can easily open and allow it all to slip back away.
Yeah.
But either way, whether you do it this way of release or if you do it this way of release, it's still a gentle putting back of
Yeah.
the water
Mm.
versus this grip
Yeah.
that only catches drops.
Yeah.
But we do this in relationships.
That
I
is such
rather
a
take my
beautiful
coupling.
metaphor.
I rather take my couplings.
Yeah. Right. Mm.
Oh my goodness, Wei Lee, thank you so very, very, very much for today. You are such a beautiful soul, and I appreciate you in fullness and in gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. It's been an honor, really. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so very much for joining us today. And what I'm going to do is actually play you the song because I feel led to do so. So I'm actually going to play you the song that I am referencing. Um, if you haven't heard Beautiful Chorus before, they're definitely a group worth listening to because of just really the beautiful music that they put out there.
Mm.
Um, they have several different albums that they have, but this one in particular, and of course now I won't be able to find it now that I'm on the spot. Let me do my search differently instead of just Beautiful Chorus, because that gives me all of their albums because I'm such a fan.
Mm. Well, thank you for sharing that.
They are really beautiful. And I think it's four females in total who sing this, who are a part of Beautiful Chorus, and they're all very diverse,
Mm.
beautiful women. So here is the song I am referencing. We will close on this. Be like water, my friend. You we design the ways we give. We decide the shape we're in, the ways we give. We decide the shape we're in, the ways we give. Be like water, my friend. Isn't it? Thank you all. Appreciate you. Have a beautiful week. And until the next time we speak, never ever forget. Take care of you. Until next time. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Conscious Leader. And today we have the beautiful Serena with us, joining us on a conversation about the beautiful imperfection of perfection, mastering perfection or imperfection. And yeah, and I love the fact that we are having this conversation with Serena, because what you saw just a little while ago is that we had a conversation with her mom, Wei Li, and we were speaking to other areas of consciousness and success. So here we are speaking to consciousness and imperfection, and really being able to understand all the dynamics of that space. But before we dive into it, I would love for Serena to go ahead and tell us a little bit about herself. So please, Serena, will you share yourself with our viewers?
So, hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Miss Patricia, for inviting me to this wonderful interview. I am 14 years old. I would say that I have done a lot of personal development. I've been through a lot in my personal development journey, doing UPW, which is a Tony Robbins Unleash Your Power Within program, when I was 7 years old, and I walked on fire. And ever since then, it's just been like, whew. I've been so interested, I guess I could say, about developing more of my consciousness about how I live. And I think I love traveling. So if someone were to ask me what's my passion, definitely traveling. I feel like I get to see new cultures, meet new people. There's a sense of freedom, I think. And yeah, that's what I think I prize the most.
That is beautiful. So, for all you parents out there and all you teenagers out there who are wondering, well, what is it like to take this whole personal development journey to another level at an early start? This is what it looks like. Right here, right here, right here, right here. This is what it looks like. So, Serena at 14 years old, starting off at 7, going, I'll try it, to going into this full dive of, now I'm curious, playfully curious, and diving into further of who she is, and really stepping into the beautiful space of really coming awake and alive. So I actually want to speak to that journey of you doing the fire walk. Like, walk us through that moment of what made you say yes.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So I first want to put it up front that I am no means a perfect example. So
None of us are.
so this really started, I credit a lot to my parents. Like, because of them, that's the reason why I started, I think. No, not I think, I know. So when I was 7, they were Tony Robbins Platinum Partners, and they actually gave tickets to our entire extended family. So we would all go and do it together. And it was super, super, like the first day was the fire walk, and it was such a long day. I was so tired, and I don't remember much from like what Tony was talking about. But I just remember falling asleep, and it's so cold. It
Yeah.
was like
Freezing in there. Always.
freezing. So I had like blankets, and I fell asleep in like on a chair. And then I woke up, and everyone was filing out of the huge room, and I was like, "What's going on?" I asked my parents, and oh, we were also very fortunate. People saw that I was such a tiny little kid, and they're like, "Oh, you can sit in the front seat." So I actually got like a front view, and I just saw this huge, like Tony Robbins, huge guy with a huge like voice, and I
Yes.
was like, "What?"
Especially at 7, it's like, whoa.
Exactly. Um, and so then my parents were like, "It's the fire walk. Do you want to go?" And I was like, the entire time I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I want to go." I feel like the sense of maybe fear didn't really set in at that age, or maybe I don't know what I was thinking. So I was like, firewalk would be cool. Maybe I could like tell this to my friends. And so you're going to go to do the firewalk, and there was this huge security guard that was like super muscly, like, and he was like standing in from the line, and he saw me, and he was like, "She's too young. She can't go in." And my mom was like, "Tony just talked about a boy that was 7 years old that did the firewalk. My daughter is 7 years old. She can do it too." And he was just like, "No, no, no, she's too young." And then my mom was like, "Go ask your supervisor," or like, "Go ask Tony.
I
Like,
love her.
my daughter is gonna get in there." And I was like silent the entire time. I was like holding my mom's hand, and I was getting sort of scared now. And the security guard, he was like, my mom wouldn't budge.
Well,
And
let's pause for a second because I love this. I love this because when you stepped into this space, all you were focused on was actually going ahead and doing the walk. It's not until opposition came
Mhm.
is when you started to question yourself in the walk. Because when fear started, fear
Yeah.
came in because of the opposition. When the
Right.
opposition wasn't there, it was just going to do the walk.
Mhm.
But when the opposition came, that's what caused you to question yourself and the whole space. I think that's a beautiful highlight for people because that's a part of really coming into consciousness, right? To be able to pay attention to those little elements, those little distinctions of things that pop up and show up that you need to know who you are stepping into that space versus what's in that space. Because it doesn't mean that what's there is you.
Mhm.
Who you are still needs to be present so that no matter what that opposition is, it's, I see you, but do you know who I am? And that's what I love about your mom stepping into that space where
Yeah.
she's going, okay, but my daughter didn't have any oppositions. She wasn't here stating, I don't want to do this. She wasn't the one going, I don't know, not don't put me there. So why are you looking to change who she is?
Mhm. Exactly. I
Love
think,
that.
yeah, too often people, I feel like they let opposition stop them, and that's one of the things I really admire about my mom. Like, she sets her goal, and she's like, "I'm going to do it." And at that time, she was like, "My daughter's going to walk on this fire walk." Like,
Mm.
and so this huge guy that was like, so like, he was really scary. Like, I don't remember much. I just remember a scary dude. And he was so tall, and he was like, "Okay." And he huffed, and he went, and he was going to ask his supervisor. And so my mom, I think she stayed by my side, and we waited until he came back, and he said, my supervisor said no. And then my mom was like, I think she was getting really angry at this point. She was just like, "No, my daughter is going to do this fire walk no matter what you say. Nobody can stop me, even like a big, strong guy like you." And she like bumped her shoulder into him, and she grabbed my hand, bumped her shoulder into him, and she like walked past him. So it
Wow.
was like, and my mom told me, like,
Lion.
yeah, she was like, I was so scared that he was gonna grab me and like throw me out of like Tony's event. And she was like, if he did, then I was gonna scream and be like, "Tony, no!" And she was so scared because she literally bumped into security guard, and nothing happened. And she was like, and we just kept on walking straight towards the line of the firewalk. And that takes so much courage. Like,
Yeah.
geez,
Yes.
so much courage.
So much courage.
Yeah. And I was 7, and I think I was getting super scared. Like, my mom, she didn't show it because I don't remember thinking my mom was scared. I just remember thinking, oh my God, what if my mom gets us arrested? But I was I was so scared. And so we've gotten to the line, and I saw this huge bonfire. I have no idea why they put a bonfire in the middle of the line, maybe to make you more scared, but I thought we were going to walk through the bonfire. So I was like, maybe this is why the officer didn't want me to do it, because I might actually die. And so I was like, I told my mom, I'm like, I don't think I want to do the firewalk anymore. And she was like, are you sure? Is it just because of that officer? Is it just because he said you shouldn't do it? Because I know, like, even then, or no, even now, I feel like I'm a very much a people pleaser, even though I don't admit it at times. Like, part of me is a people pleaser. So, like, if someone doesn't want me to do it, my mom's always like maybe check into yourself. Is it because you don't want to do it, or is it because you feel like if you don't do it, it's going to please other people? Some sort of like that. And I was like, no, I feel like I don't really want to do it. And she was like, okay, that's fine. She didn't push me into it. And we got to the beginning of the line, and at this time, my dad, I think we told my dad to go ahead, so we couldn't find him anywhere. And my mom was like, let's just do it together, Serena. And there's this really really nice senior leader, and she told my mom, you can just put her on your hip, like what I did with my daughter, or and you can just like walk that way. And I was like, my mom was like, do you want to do this, Serena? And I was like, yeah. So she put me on her hip, and everyone's like, go 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 go. And go Doris was her time at that was her name. So they're like, go Doris, go Doris. And she walked across, and my mom was like, yeah, like celebrating at the end. And I was celebrating with her, but like deep inside, I felt like I had let somebody else stop me. And like I told my mom it was fine, that I didn't really want to do it, but I sort of did still. But at that time, I thought it was too late. So I was like, you know what? The firewalk's already done. I'm not going to go wait in a long line. I'm just going to like accept it as it is. So we went back to the stadium. I don't know. It's a huge like room. And somehow by coincidence or something, I don't know if I believe in coincidences, but like there was there was this really nice man, like gentleman, and he had 2 children. There was a daughter that was like 11, and a son was like 9. And they were like so excited, and they were like, we just did the firewalk, and they're like, ah. And I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. So then I told my mom, like, I want to do the firewalk now. And then she was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was like we were salmon, like swimming upstream. Like everyone was coming like back, and we were like the only 2 people going back to the firewalk. And everyone's like cheering at. They're like, yeah, you can do it. They're not done yet. You can make it. And the security guard wasn't there, so we made it past. There were only 2 firewalk lanes that were open. I think there were 12 before. And everybody who was like cleaning up, dousing the fire onto the huge coals, right? You walk on the really hot coals. They saw that I was going to do it, and they all like converged around my firewalk lane. And then everyone was like, you can do it. Just chant cool moss, cool moss. And I was 7 years old, so I thought they said kumos.
I would have too.
Magical word. I thought it was like this would make me not feel the heat, so I was like, I'll just say kumos. So everyone was like, go Serena, go Serena. And I walked across. It was like a second. It was like everything was happening so fast. I got to the end of the firewalk, and they doused my feet in like really cold water, I think. And it was like, I remember looking at the bottoms of my feet, and they were like, nothing happened to them. Like, is this real? Like, I didn't get burnt. I didn't get anything. And it was so cool. And I remember thinking like, 1, I'm so lucky to have a mom like my mom. And 2, I'm so proud of myself that I guess I overcame like my own challenge of like facing up to myself, facing up to other people. Yeah, it was a huge, I think,
That
breakthrough.
is amazing and definitely epic. I mean, let's really dissect this one because the consciousness in that space is such a beautiful gift. Such a beautiful gift. Because as you approached, again, your mind was made up. You had no doubt of the space in which you were stepping into. Your mom was your greatest advocate, right? Stepping
Yeah.
in before you and stating, no, like, I know what it is that she wants to do. And it plays into who are the people that you are surrounding yourself with. Who are those who are truly supporting your mission, your vision, your heart, the idea of who you are, as well as the identity of who you are? Who are the people that you are placing around you? Are they in opposition to you or are they in full support of you? Are they your advocates? And so your mom was your advocate. Stepping into that space, you're going, this is who I am. I'm totally into it. And someone opposes your identity.
Right.
And that is what happened with that bodyguard. He opposed your identity. He's going, she is too young. Your mom is going, but he, who was the same age as her, was not too young. Why is it she, SHE, is
Mhm.
too young? Your mom definitely was able to see the identity that he was giving you, right? As to female, no. Male, well, yes. But female, no. And you were walking into that space of, I am beyond the identity of a female. I am here. I am Serena. I am here to just simply do the walk as Serena. And your mom, as an advocate, stood in to say, she is beyond she. She is
Right.
Serena, right? So, in going into that space, you go ahead and go through. And yes, your advocate can carry you through your path. Your advocate can absolutely carry you through. Your sponsor, the one who's your supporter, can bring you through your fire. But what you feel is a lack because you didn't walk through your fire.
Mm-hmm.
You coasted on the side of your advocate. So when the meaning was really there for you is when you were able to go in your full identity, the full identity of Serena. When you were able to fully step into it that way, it changed everything. And
Mm-hmm.
what you needed to get out of that space, you were able to draw. The awakening within yourself, the full consciousness that needed to be opened up happened, which is why you were able to step into that space, walk through that space, and see that there was no harm to you because it was all about your becoming.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. I love it.
It's such a beautiful journey. Like I personally love the fact that you shared that, and thank you so very much because there's so many beautiful edges to it that we all can learn from. Just hearing it, I was thinking through like my own adversaries and how it
Mm-hmm.
is that I step into that space and what is it that I accept of their storytelling of me versus me owning and knowing my own story and my own identity and how I bring that back into the conversation. Just because they pull out one key element of me and say, this is my identity. Like, how am I pulling that back in to say, that's just one element? You can't define me. Like,
Right.
that's
Not
not
letting
it.
others to define you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful. Totally beautiful. So let's step a little deeper because I really want to get into really speaking to mastering imperfection. And I know this is a topic that you hold dear and one that you wanted to speak to. So let's just first start off with why you wanted to speak to mastering imperfection.
Well, I think I'm speaking for myself here, but also I think a lot of people deal with the burden of having to be perfect.
Mm.
Maybe not to other people. Some people can pretend like, oh, I don't care what other people think of me. I'm not perfect, and that's amazing. But also, I think there's a second side to it, which is like some people really struggle like me especially with being perfect to yourself. Like
Yes.
I'm fine because
Yep.
yeah, because like everyone knows there's no such thing as perfect. And so when people are like, oh, you're so perfect, um, I would say like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And that's only the external side. And that's fine. But like the internal side, I constantly um, maybe feel guilty or disappointed or judge myself on things that I do because I don't feel like I should be doing them. Like if I'm not using my time wisely, if I have like procrastination on something I have to do. Um, and it's just like little things. I feel like a lot of people, at least I didn't understand that tiny little things, they like stack up subconsciously
Yes.
until um, until in the end, it's almost like you have a wall in your mind that you don't
Yes.
even know it's there, but it's blocking off everything that you could have had. So I think that's why I really, really care about this topic, is because a lot of times I just caught myself thinking like, I'm not perfect. Why do I have to hold myself to this huge standard? And I feel like I'm missing out on a huge part of my happiness.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's good. Since we're talking about a stacking of incidences, which is what builds this wall, right? Eventually, what ends up happening is kind of like a bit of an avalanche that happens with that wall, which is what causes this whole like awakening to happen. When did you have your avalanche moment of like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this?
My avalanche moment. I would say there might be multiple in my journey because I don't think it's like one huge revelation or something. I think it's like tiny, maybe they tiny little walls, maybe like an avalanche of
Mm,
this one. Then you see a bigger wall and you avalanche that one. So it started very, very
I
young,
love
and
that,
my
by the
parents,
way.
yeah, yeah, it started very, very young, and my parents like realized that I had this huge like um I don't know, like this obsession with having to be perfect. And they saw that in my homework. So
Mm.
I was asking my mom of like examples just this morning, and she was like, "Oh my God, Serena, when you were in second or first grade, I think, first grade, they would be teaching us, I think, or never mind, kindergarten. They were teaching us how to write like letters, and I think I already knew how to like write A, B, C, and all that, so it was easy to me. But they had like the dotted lines or dots, and you have to like trace the dots to make a B, and then trace the dots to make a C. And even though I already knew how to do it, I would like obsess over having to be the perfect like C. Like every single dot had to be like perfect. And if it wasn't perfect, I would erase it and I would do it all over again. And I'll
Mm.
erase it and do it all over again. And my mom said that it got to the point where I erased so many times the paper would rip and then I would cry because I'm like, oh my God, like I can't even do this simple assignment. I would like beat myself up, and all these kids are already like way ahead of me because they already turned in all of their assignments. And I'm like stuck here. I already know this stuff, but I can't turn it in because I feel like it's not perfect. And my mom, she was like, I was like, wait, then what did you do? And she was like, so we actually had to mirror you. And she would get like a piece of paper with like dotted
Mm.
lines, and she would go like, she would write the B and she would make a mistake. And then she would be like, see, Serena, I make a mistake. Adults make mistakes too. Like, I make mistakes. Your dad makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It's okay. And that sort of taught me, like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think slowly, even though I don't really remember that moment, I think it was like the starting, the catalyst maybe to
Mhm.
like me understanding it doesn't have to be perfect. Also, a lot of people tell me that too. Like everyone's like, Serena, you're such a perfectionist. And I don't like that word anymore
Mhm.
because it's like, again, people are defining you for like a little trait that you might have.
Mhm.
So I'm like, no, I'm not a perfectionist. Yeah, I think that was the huge, like subconscious, maybe trigger. But there's multiple I can remember like that I remember right now. Um, if you don't mind, I can go into a story.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So,
Books are the best portrayers of truth. So it's beautiful.
um, okay, so this was last summer. I think I talked about this during my speech at the Athena Sisterhood Summit. So it was in a province called Huizhou in China,
Hmm.
and I went there to do volunteer camp like work, and it was like 2 weeks, super immersed into this really rural mountain area village, and I was like the only one I think that spoke. Oh no, there was one more guy, and he was from New York, but I was like the only one who was born in America. Everyone else was from China. To the cultural difference, like even though I look Chinese and like we all look Chinese, but like there's a huge difference. I don't think like even I understood how huge it was because
Mm.
they would say jokes, they would do stuff, and they would like they would look at me hoping I would understand or assuming I would understand, and I wouldn't understand a single joke they were talking about because it was like all references to things they knew, and I would just be like sitting there like, oh, the joke's done now. Like, oh, is this what I'm supposed to laugh? And it was very very hard for me because I felt like I had to be essentially perfect because like everything I did, I thought somehow it would be portrayal like of a American girl. So like anytime I if I wore my shirt this way, they'd be like, oh, all American girls wear their shirt that way. Or
Mm.
like if I don't know, if I like a guy that like looks like this, they're like all American girls like a guy that looks like that.
Mm.
So I felt like I was like the ambassador of like America, but nobody appointed me to it. I just appointed myself.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was a huge burden. It was a huge burden for the first week of camp. So the entire half like part of the camp, I would monitor every single thing I did, make sure that it wouldn't reflect badly on America, make sure that like I wouldn't say no to stuff. I would always say yes, even though they might be like really invading my personal space and I'm trying to write in my diary.
Mm.
They would be like crowding around looking at my English words. And I like sometimes I just need a little private time, but I wouldn't tell them because I was afraid that it might make them think American girls are mean or something like that.
Wow.
And it was so hard to be like always perfect all the time. And I started like I would break down at like I think I broke down like once or twice. And I normally never like if you ask people, I'm normally very, very calm even during crazy situations. Like for some reason my brain's always like stay calm, freak out after.
Yep.
So like for during this, I like broke down twice, which is huge because I never break down. And I was like crying, and they had to call a nurse because I couldn't breathe. I was crying that bad, and I didn't even know. I was like, "What's going on?" And it was so it like hurt so bad, but I didn't understand it was because I held standards to myself that are impossible. Like I
You're
didn't
having an avalanche moment.
yeah. And that continued until the middle of camp when we got to have like a 30-minute call with our parents. And I went to this room. It was like a line. Finally called my name and I was like so excited. I finally talked to my parents. Finally like hear a word of English because all this time it's been like Chinese everywhere, everywhere. Um, and then I realized that my phone was dead. So it was an entire week, and I have, let me show you. I have this tiny, like iPhone 5, and it's like horribly cracked. So it's a tiny, I think it's like a strategy my parents use. They only give me hand me down phones. So, and I mean, it's a good strategy, keeps me off my phone. Um, but I never asked for like a better one because I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty self-disciplined in that aspect. But
I
okay,
hold
back
on
to
to old phones too myself. Like I'm a loyalist, so it takes me forever
yeah.
to transition.
So yeah, I always get the hand-me-down phones, and the iPhone 5, like the battery drains so quickly. So there was no way it was going to keep like enough battery for an entire month. I mean, sorry, entire week. Even though nobody even touched it, like it dies within like a day or so. So I don't know what I was like hoping that it would still be charged, but it obviously wasn't. And I started really to break down crying again because like I saw all these kids calling their parents and going like, "Oh yeah, this is what happened," blah blah blah. And then there'd be guys sort of like calling like, "Yeah, I'm good. Okay, cool, bye." And then they would start playing video games on their phones. And I was like, they have the opportunity to call their parents, and I need that, but like they're wasting it. And then I got mad at them. Then I was mad at myself, and I was like mad at my phone, and I was like angry and sad at the same time. So I was like really crying. And I was like, I don't even care if people see me anymore. American girls cry too, okay? And so I was like,
Avalanche.
I was
Mm-hmm.
at the back of the room, really crying. And but there were silent tears because I felt like I couldn't like cry out loud for some reason. And people, there was this camp monitor. She saw me, and she was really nice. She realized that my phone was dead. She gave me her phone, and I realized that I didn't know my parents' phone number because they change phone numbers when they come to China. So they have a completely new phone number in China. I know their American phone number, but it doesn't dial them now because we're in China. And I was like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do now?
When did it hit you that it was actually your perfectionism?
Yeah, okay. So it was actually on this call with my parents. It
Mm.
was like I finally got their phone from my aunt, which I memorized her number, thank God. And I was like, I called them and I just cried and called for like the entire like 30 minutes almost. And then at the very, very end, like they let me like release
Heard.
it and
Yeah.
everything. And at the end, my dad was like, Serena, what if you just try one day and let it all go? Like, what if you just try one day and let the burden off your shoulders? You don't have to be perfect. And he asked me, he was like, who asked you to be perfect? And I was like, sniffling. And I'm like, me? And he was like, yeah, exactly. So you can also drop the perfection, just try it for one day. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And he was like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I was like, okay. And we like ended the call, and I was so mad at the end of the call at like the world, like everyone. I was like, they made me have to be perfect. Like, why did I have to be perfect for an entire week? Like, drop the entire like perfectionism. I've been trying to drop it the entire time. And
Everyone else, right?
yeah, and I was so mad. And I was like, I can't not be perfect. They're all expecting me to. And then I was so mad. I like punched a wall, and I still have a scar on like my hand because I punched it so hard, it started bleeding. And then I
Wow.
was like mad at everybody. And then I, I don't even. It was like a click, and I'm like, why am I mad at everyone else? Like it was me. The entire time it's been me. I'm like, I've never had a single moment where people were like, Serena, you have to be perfect. They're always like just being themselves, and I assume that I have to be perfect. So
Mm.
from that like moment, I just completely like, dropped the perfectionism. It took a little while, but like some people would ask me like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because they saw me crying, and normally I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine," and I'm like, "No, I'm not okay," and and then they'd be like, "Oh, okay," and they would
How
give
did
me
that feel? Like, because the process of letting go is just as hard as the process of holding on, right?
yeah.
Like, so how did it feel in letting go? And when you found yourself really struggling with that?
The process of letting go. Well, first of all, I don't think I've let it go completely, even now. Like,
Yeah. And I'm sure it still reverberates because I know I still have my own like perfectionism ways that keep popping in for me. Like my number one statement is perfection is stupid. Like I've actually just gone ahead and coined that statement for myself. It's my way of immediately getting myself right out of it whenever it's my coin phrase for shaking myself out, causing a disturbance,
I
right?
love
Where
that.
it's like, okay, I gotta get this, I gotta get this. Perfection is stupid. And then I'll like giggle it out, and then it's like, oh, okay. All right, let's just,
I love that. Yeah, breaking the pattern, definitely.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's a huge disruptor, right? Where it's like It's a big word. Like people tend to look at the word stupid as a big word. And at the same time, it's like, oh no, this is totally fitting because everything I do in this space of perfection is stupid. Like, because at that point, I lose all senses. I lose my identity. I don't know who I am in that space because I'm so busy trying to do all these other things that I'm not being true to myself.
Yeah.
I'm not really serving the people that I'm trying to serve because I'm so displaced like everywhere that I'm not really serving one person. I'm over here giving fragments of myself to several people. And then thirdly, I'm completely out of energy, so I'm showing up in fumes, which is not really who I am, so I'm not even showing up fully myself. So it's stupid.
Yeah. I love that. Wow. Yeah. One of the things like I think I say to myself like nowadays is I think like I definitely learned it from Tony Robbins. He says perfection is the lowest standard. And
Yeah.
that like hit me. I was like, "What? What is that? Wait, that is so true." Cuz it's like perfection doesn't exist. So basically means you have no standard. So it means you have the lowest standard if you hold yourself to perfection. And I was like, "Whoa." That was huge for me. But yeah, to your question of like how do I transition out of that huge moment?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like, what
well,
tools do you use?
tools, yeah. I think I think it was more I'm like a massive action person, so like when I get inspired, I do a whole bunch of stuff. So from that moment, I think I was like um when I just promised myself, I was like, okay, what I was dealing with was I people pleaser again. I'm like, yes, or like sure, or like it's always yes. So I was like, next time I gotta tune into myself. If I want to say no, then just say no. Like you don't have to be the perfect yes saying like yes people pleaser. So that's a huge like massive action that I did was tune into myself and speak the truth. I think instead of um, maybe trying to like play it as like a perfect, I was just like, no, I'm actually need some personal space. So from that, uh, I think it really I got this thing where I time myself because it's like for homework especially I still have this like huge habit even like there was this huge project for like a quarter reading project or something and I normally don't procrastinate a lot but like it seems like I have the same amount of time as a procrastinator because I do all the work and then I just do extra work because I don't think it's good enough or like I just do more and more and more and my parents like got like wind of this and they're like, Serena, you should set a time for yourself for every single like project or
Mm-hmm.
assignment or anything you get. And I was just like, how is that impossible? I don't even know how long it's going to take. And they're like, that's exactly why you need to set a timer or like just, it doesn't have to be like perfect. Obviously, you're not going to know how long, but at least get a overview. So like this assignment will take me 30 minutes. And if it crosses like a few minutes or maybe even like an hour, it's fine. But if it takes like 4 hours, then I definitely know there's something I have to change and I have to like focus onto myself, see what makes it so hard for me to complete that one assignment. So I think timing it, I'm so good at like knowing time now. I feel like I like understand like this is gonna take me that long, that's gonna take me that long. It helps me uh I think center into like what is my priorities. Because I think for a perfectionist, I'm always like, everything's my priority. I have to make everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I want to do all these things at once. And I'm like, okay, what really has to be done? And for each day, I'd use uh, like one day, three things. I don't know, like that's what I call like one day, three things, Serena. So it's not like I want to do one day and I have to do like, I have to do my AP, I have to do Chinese, I have to like do math and history and like also work on the website. I'm like, no, Serena, just one day, three things. Just accomplish three things and they all add up. Like my dad, it's like a Chinese saying, like, um, everything happens for a reason, everything is a step in the process. Like even if it's a tiny step, you're still like going somewhere, you know? And I think that was it was a huge like almost like a mini revelation. I think I was like, wow, it's all a small step. And I think one last thing that I also use for myself that I tell myself is complexity is the enemy of execution.
Yep.
So another like Tony Robbins quote, like
Yep.
a complexity, I always make things so complex. Like I have to do that, do that, do that. And I end up maybe not finishing a lot of stuff. And I get even more overwhelmed. And it's just a cycle. Because the next day I'm so overwhelmed, I want to do all this stuff too. And then I get more overwhelmed. And then that just leads to like one day I'm just like, I just not going to do anything today. Total burnout. I just end up like watching like movies or YouTube videos or something. And then I feel bad about that and I do it over and over. So I'm like, complexity is the enemy of execution. I just make it simple. One day, 3 things. Treat myself once. I have to work on that. Self-love is a huge thing that I'm working on right now. Self-love. Like, and trying to find ways to do self-love that doesn't involve, like, doesn't always have to involve like spa, painting nails, doing that stuff. Like, that was actually one of my things I was going to do, either like by this week, find something to like treat myself with for self-love.
Well, I have a couple of simple things for you.
Yeah,
If
I'd
you
love to
notice,
hear.
if you notice how you treat yourself when it comes to punishing, it's kind of like this. We tend to punish ourselves, right? High
Yeah.
achievers, we tend to punish ourselves. And so one of the ways that we do it is that we actually overindulge in consoling. And when we end up overindulging in consoling the pain or the lack of progress or the stagnation, then it's like the key default that's what we end up finding ourselves getting addicted to. So here's an example. I used to, whenever I found myself procrastinating, I would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't do that thing that I was supposed to do. And now it's been like 2 weeks that I still didn't do it. And you know what? I should just go ahead and treat myself to like one of my favorite movies, relax, get myself in the right state of mind. Maybe I love chocolate cupcakes, get myself a chocolate cupcake, watch the film, and then when I'm finished, then I can go ahead and probably get myself in the right frame of mind and the right energy to go ahead and do it. I'm rewarding myself for my bad behavior in order to get myself to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So in the end, I'm sitting there going, no, this is good. And at the end of the day, all I kept doing was each time that I found myself like, oh, I didn't do this thing, I would allow the procrastination because I knew a reward was coming. Like I would continue on in that space going, okay, well, at the end of the day, I know I'm going to give myself a cupcake or something awesome, some ice cream, watch my favorite movie, take some time out, do this kind of thing, right? Where it's like, how about doing that prior to a problem and prior to an issue coming up? So it's more like this, where something great happens, and in the pause of something great, it's, I'm going to get a cupcake because this was awesome. The fact that I accomplished this, the fact that this happened is pretty awesome. Or you have a very busy schedule and it's like for your 3 things a day, you accomplished all 3 things today. It's time to go on Netflix and find what new rom-com I can fall in love with because I love rom-coms. Now making a whole new association with each accomplishment a reward. And that changeover made a huge difference for me because I didn't realize that I was rewarding my own bad behavior.
Yeah. That makes so much sense now that you talk about it. Yeah, rewarding. So you're saying basically in the middle of maybe doing something great, or when I finish all my 3 things, instead of hopping to the next like 4th thing I could do, just reward myself.
Yep.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
pause and rewarding yourself. Like we sit there, especially as high achievers, we sit there and we try to create like this long list of things to do, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like, nope, it's not until I do the 10th thing because then it means I've met a challenge and then I'll reward myself. Meanwhile, you've met the challenge every day because that was the point of you setting the goal for every day, right?
Right.
So it's like each time you've actually set yourself to do something greater than you did yesterday because your only competition is you. There is no external competition. All you're trying to do is be better than the version of yourself from yesterday. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the only competition that exists. So when it comes to the whole space of perfection, what I've come to learn is that when it comes to the whole space of perfection, arriving at perfection means you're dead because there's no room to grow.
Yeah.
There's no room for innovation. There's no room for anything more. It means that this thing is now dead. There's no life to it.
Yeah.
So no one can do anything with this anymore. So we as human beings were evolutionary. We're constantly evolving, constantly growing into new things. Our entire physics show us this, right? Like our hair, our nails, our skin, it's constantly showing us this. But our minds are driven by survival. And because it's driven by survival, it doesn't flow with the evolutionary space of our spiritual beings and our physical beings. We are the ones heartfully, with a heart intention driven way, we have to merge them back together. And that understanding of merging them together is going, perfection is stupid, and I'm not dead. And I love innovating, and innovation is beautiful. So let's just continue to make all things beautiful. And when you
Yeah.
step into that space, then everything you do, every single time you're working on, moving towards things towards the next, it's all about evolution and all about
I love
innovation.
that. I think you like touched on a really great point that I did was try, just try. Like because perfectionism is basically like fear of failure.
Yes.
And once I asked myself like what would I do if I had no fear? And
Mm.
that opened up so like I just really thought about it and that opened up so many things. I would try more things. I might be getting more opportunities. I might be happier. I might and I just kept on going on and like, wow, this is all of this is what the fear of failure brought me. This is what the fear of failure like held from me. Did you
Mm.
hear that? That was a scream from my brother. Having so much fun right now.
It's
And
awesome.
yeah, just like, oh, okay. So here's a really good book that I'm actually reading like right now. It's
Hmm.
called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It's like she like wrote Eat Pray Love, which was like a
Mm.
movie.
Hmm.
And but I personally like this book even better because it talks about like creative, like the magic of like not being perfect and like just creating for fun. She's like literally in there, she's like, I don't have to create to like get money or like prove I'm right or like do this stuff. She's like, I literally create for the fun of it. And everybody is a creator. Like even if you don't think you can like draw anything and it looks like a stick figure every single time, it doesn't have to be like drawing. It can just be self-love. I think it's like a form of creation. She's like, just go and try it out. Like and it really releases your soul, releases happiness, everything. I think because I'm in the middle of reading it, it's really making me think, wow, I should try more, not be afraid of failure because it's not failing, really.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
And all of it is about really. And here's the other thing when it comes to failure. We tend to have completely the wrong idea of failure. Athletes, when it comes to how it is you gain your strength, you gain your momentum, you gain your skill, you gain your unique identity in what it is that you do, it's because you keep like challenging yourself to
Yeah.
overcome the last level that you were in, right? So each time you're going, oh, that didn't work. All right, let's switch and do something else. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, let's switch and do something else. Okay, that worked. Oh, he learned it. All right, now I got to switch to something new, right? Because each time when you step into the arena, your worthy opponent, is sitting there and studying you, right? They're studying your movements, you're studying their movements. And you are learning what works, what doesn't work, how to perfect that space, how to move beyond that space. So there is no failure, there's just elevation that's going on. And that elevation, the more you allow others into your space, into your arena, you are meeting your worthy opponents in your co elevation of one another. It's peer upon peer coaching that's happening if you're fully open to it. And that's where we as high achievers have to open our perspective, right? Where we're allowing others into our arena so that we can maneuver in co elevation of one another in that peer upon peer coaching and maneuvering in that space. So it's beautiful. I want to thank you so very much for being here with me today. I think you're frozen on screen, but I thank you so very much for being here with me today. You shared so many beautiful elements. I love what you shared. There you are. I love what you shared on really not looking, not
I think I'm
sitting
cutting
in.
out.
Oh, are you there? I can see you and I can hear you. Can you see and hear me?
Oh, okay. I think
Okay,
I'm back
perfect.
on. I got cut out a little bit.
No,
Yes.
no worries. I was just stating how I love everything that you shared in walking through imperfection, your journey of consciousness, even from the time of 7 on through today. And I really just want to open the floor for if you have any final statements that you'd like to share with anyone, any final key thing that you'd like to say.
You. This has been such a pleasure, honor, so much fun with you. And yeah, I think one of the very important things I think you said, like just a few moments ago and in the beginning, was um, you have like advocates. You have people in your peer group that advocate for you, that you support each other and you grow stronger and stronger. So I think that was another huge thing, because if I were to advance more in my personal development journey, but everyone around me was just dragging me back down to where I was before, I mean, that wouldn't be very effective, I think, and it wouldn't help like mentally, physically, anything. So I think proximity is power. Your peer group, the people you spend your time with, is so important. Um, and I actually, because of that, massive action taker, I started like a really small group for people who are like into personal development with teens, and it's just like very small niche. Um, and we're just like a close group of friends that get together, casually talk. So, and they're like open to anyone, but I really want to like make sure we're all like supporting each other, going to the same personal development path. So I think that's a huge thing. If I could leave behind any like one tip, it's the people you spend your time with are the people that you're going to become. So anything you do with yourself, it's just like you're not a one person world. Like you always have people that will surround you either positively or negatively. And so why don't you just choose positively and like sort of surround yourself with the people that you choose. So I think that's my last few words on, yeah, just mastering imperfection, and then also understanding that you can't perfectly master imperfection either, to just cut yourself some slack sometimes.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is exactly why it's not about imperfectly mastering perfection as much as it is perfectly matching imperfection
Mm-hmm.
and really just living in that space. It's the inner web of all of it, right? And
Yeah.
flowing in both spaces. Either way, when it comes to perfection, imperfection, know that you have a freedom within. And if you are only looking at the word perfection, the key thing that I got out of this conversation with Serena today is that fear is your driver if you were looking at perfection. When you start to rest in the state of imperfection, it means that you are flowing with evolution and you yourself are a part of being innovation. You yourself know that you are not solid state defined. We as human beings, we cannot be defined. Or we cannot, actually, that was correct. We cannot be defined. We can only be described. And that is an element that when I woke up to that statement, it changed everything for me, because I always thought, of course I can be defined. Who I am, I can define who I am. I can definitely step into that space. No, Patricia, you can't, because you're an evolutionary being. Who you say you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow. So, no, you cannot be defined, but you can absolutely be described. So, that's the beauty of imperfection. You are constantly changing and evolving. And like that athlete, moving into one space or another, working with that co elevation and proximity of peers who can help you in their advocacy and support, that you are growing in your elements. And don't take yourself too seriously. Remember to always play. So, thank you so very much, Serena. I appreciate you so very much for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart, your mind, the person that you are, the beautiful soul that you are. I look forward to hearing and seeing all the comments from people just in having the exposure to you. You are a beautiful soul. I love what you are doing in the world, and I am ecstatic about all the other things you will do in just being yourself and nothing more. So
thank you. Thank you so much. You are such a beautiful soul inside and out. I mean, you summed it up so wonderfully. Yes, I totally agree with everything you said. We are totally an evolutionary being. And I think everything is just if you're happy or not. It's really just everything is down to, I think, your happiness. And I think you completely embody that. Your smile is so beautifully full of happiness, radiance, everything. So thank you so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure.
And I'd love to have you back anytime. So thank you. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it may be for you. Just know that we care for you. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens today, take care of you. Until next time, we'll see you.